Hello, everyone. I'm David Bethuram, and I have the honor of serving as the Executive Director of Catholic Charities in the Archdiocese of Indianapolis. Standing with me, more figuratively than for sure behind me right now, are 200 staff and the 1,200 volunteers that reach out and help Catholic Charities provide important and essential human services to communities they serve. We have 6 agency sites that are in Bloomington, Bedford, Indianapolis, New Albany, Tell City, and Terre Haute. I have the privilege today to address you during this uncertain time of the COVID pandemic. During our time together, I want to address how we at Catholic Charities here in the Archdiocese is modifying our services and addressing the emergent needs caused by the pandemic. I also want to discuss how important our mission and faith is in keeping us focused on the task at hand. And thirdly, the importance of working together, praying for one another, and understanding the needs of one another. And lastly, I think it's also important that you know that if you have any questions about Catholic Charities or how we are addressing those that have been affected by COVID-19, to please do so by asking it in the chat. Many of us in our communities are taking on new demands like never before due to this pandemic, such as our medical professionals, law enforcement, and our grocery store personnel. Some of you are caring for older and vulnerable loved ones at home in this new reality of social distancing, including parents who are working from home now while they're also helping their children with their schoolwork. I want to assure you that during this time of heightened level of caring for one another, that we are still providing help, creating hope for all who seek our care and support and guidance. Our clients depend on us with their basic and ongoing needs. In the state of Indiana, we're considered an essential service to help families get through their day with the necessary food assistance, with mental health services, and to provide them with the direction to critical housing and healthcare needs. We recognize the vulnerability of so many of our communities right now, and we're committed to see them through this trying time. Our primary concern, of course, is to protect the health and safety of our staff, our volunteers, and our clients. We have reevaluated our services since mid-March when this all began and modified them in order to practice social distancing and avoid personal contact as much as possible. When we reevaluate at Catholic Charities, we always use these 3 primary components: quality services, how do we advocate for those in need, and who do we convene to be able to address those needs. For Catholic Charities, it's very important for us to be able to provide services that are not only quality services and human services, but rather also important for us to have services that address the real needs of the client. We're a very client-centered organization. So that's why advocacy is very important. To advocate, we need to listen. That's our first job. Listen to the moms and the dads, the children, the grandparents, the lonely, the homeless, the hungry, and see what their needs are, especially during this pandemic. What are they experiencing? What are their needs? How do we address those? And then how do we convene the many other human services, corporations, other partners that we have in the communities to be able to address those needs? We ourselves have been involved in numerous number of meetings through Zoom, conference calls, and so forth with community leaders and understanding what our health department wants from us and what the government is addressing during this pandemic. And it's very important to us that we listen to the needs of the people so that we can share those needs so that those entities would know what they are. Many of our services right now are being conducted remotely, except for some limited circumstances. These include caregiver and senior support programming, our mental health services, our child and youth services, refugee and immigration services, and our pregnancy and adoption services. We do have other programs, though, that are in need to make sure that there's a person that's there in front of them, such as our emergency shelter and housing programs, financial and material services, our food bank in Terre Haute, and our local food pantries that are in a variety of our different agency sites of Catholic Charities. In these instances, we are following all the social distancing protocols given to us by health officials, and we're partnering with local officials and community partners so that we can address all the community needs that we best can. For Catholic Charities, our vision of service is joined together with our understanding of our faith. And that is best seen, we believe, in the parable of the Good Samaritan. You might recall the Good Samaritan is a parable told by Jesus in the Gospel of Luke. It's about a traveler who had been stripped and his clothing beaten and left for dead along the side of the road. The Samaritan stopped and helped this injured person. And the traveler was then taken by the Samaritan to an innkeeper. For us, our role is both the Samaritan and the innkeeper. To call us both Samaritans and innkeepers means that there are times in which we must be resilient and compassionate, like the Samaritan was, as well as fair and attentive to the needs of those who are in front of us, like the innkeeper. This dual obligation of being both Samaritan and innkeeper comprises our response to times like these with mercy and justice on behalf of all those that we serve. I've been inspired by the creativity and innovation of our staff and volunteers who enable us to keep pressing forward. They are truly an amazing group of people and make Catholic Charities a make it happen type of organization. One of our core truths surrounding our service is that we couldn't do what we do without the support of others. If you think Catholic Charities services like that of maybe the framework of a house, our community partners are our support beams and surround that core of what we do. They extend our foundation taller and wider. Our partnerships make us stronger and sturdier. Like the beams of a house, they allow us to expand from the ground up, and they allow us to welcome all who come to us in need. The effects of this pandemic may not be going away anytime soon. Right now in the state of Indiana, employment is at 16, 17%, and that means the increase of number of households who will not be able to keep up with their rent or mortgage payments, utilities, medical bills, or even with adequate food are going to increase. You are our support beams. You help us be stronger and sturdier. You help us with those who need the most help in our communities. And we are very proud to be able to stand with you to be able to provide those services. As we continue to work together, we will continue to pray for you and your loved ones, that you will remain healthy, you find emotional and spiritual support during this time, that those who are sick will recover, and more importantly, probably, that God will continue to bless and inspire us to live the call of living as good Samaritans and good innkeepers, loving God and our neighbor. Now, see if we have any questions.
David, have you seen an increase or a change in the people that are being served since the start of the pandemic?
The number of people that we have began to see that might be a little bit different is that some of our regulars to some of our food pantries and other basic needs have been finding assistance with us, but also with others in the communities with the expansion of services that are being provided. But we're also seeing, I know here in Indianapolis, we saw a 40% increase in the number of individuals that are asking for food assistance that we have never seen before. These are individuals that have not come to us for help, and we've been able to provide an already prepared package of food, of both meat products and produce and canned goods for them.
Another question we have is, how are you going to use this crisis to make changes to Catholic Charities for the future?
Changes for Catholic Charities in the future. Yeah, that is a question that is a really good one because, as I had mentioned, it's very important for us to be able to evaluate and modify what we do for the basis what's good for the clients. And one of the things that we have modified is our mental health services are all now at this particular point being done virtually. We're able to do that either telephonically or on the phone, or also through our equipment, which is iSalus, which is our electronic medical record vendor. This has been very helpful to both our clients and also for our therapists because they have been able to keep together, to be able to see each other. In fact, in some instances, because of the heightened stress, we have been able to meet with them more than once a week because they have been going through, the clients may be going through a very difficult, challenging time because of the pandemic. So I see that the possibility of us before we did everything face to face for us to be able to maybe possibly use mental health services in this capacity to stretch out maybe both be in our urban, suburban, and also our rural communities.
One last question, David. What's been the biggest challenge that Catholic Charities has faced during the crisis?
The biggest challenge that Catholic Charities has faced during this crisis. I think probably at the beginning in mid-March when this all began, it was the continual change that seemed to be happening day to day or seemingly hour to hour on the needs and how to address particular things. That's kind of tapered off. I think the hardest thing for us is that we're in the human service business, and that means we are about relationships. And sometimes it's difficult to feel as if you are in relationship with your clients in a healthy way if you're not being able to see them. And so we're seeing them virtually, but we're not standing in the same room and being able to share in the same way. And for us as human beings, that's a really important thing to be able to do, to be present, to be part of that. And we try really, really hard to be able to do that with the modifications that we've been able to develop. But right now, in some of our circumstances, with our housing or emergency shelter, we've actually had to provide housing through hotel rooms and through being able to place them with friends and families, but be able to continue with the case management. So the social distancing makes it difficult, but I think both our clients and our staff are doing a wonderful job in being able to make it happen the best that they can.
That's all we've got.
All right. Well, thank you all, and I hope you have a blessed day. Please remember, if you need to know more about Catholic Charities, just come to our website and be able to know more about the good things that's happening throughout central and southern Indiana. God bless.